Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, you were out there. You saw the whole story unfold. What was, one of the most important moments was your question and learning that the head coach is not allowing for this, what just happened, to happen again without the same commitment and work that was put into it the first time. I think that was the message he was spreading. What was your take on his answer?
Yeah, I think it tracks with kind of his messaging to the players all along, right? The focus on this week, the focus on what's right in front of them, the need to get better, the need for improvement, good, better, and they, haven't achieved best to this point. So I think it kind of ran right along with that. It didn't surprise me. This guy's laser focused, whether it's 3 days after the end of the season, 3 days after, 3 days before the start of the season, or in the middle of OTAs in the third week of May. Like that's how he's wired. I think that's what sets him apart, makes him special, and so I thought the answer that he gave tracked with how he's done his messaging in the past, and both publicly and with the players in the locker room.
And never lets it rest. Definitely doesn't do that. So, Brad, help us understand the DJ Moore conundrum. What did you hear? How did you interpret it? And what about his future?
Well, I think if they'd like a lot of these veterans to not have any questions around them if the cap situation was a little looser right now. And I don't think the first move is going to be unload this player to create cap space. I think the first move could be, like, what can we do in terms of modifying some of these contracts. And that's not a pay cut, but tweaking them a little bit to open up some more cap space. But they value DJ Moore, like with the toughness, the physicality that Ben Johnson talks about. That's sort of who DJ Moore's been all along, not just this year, right? All along, in terms of participating in the run game, blocking downfield, taking big hits and getting up, answering the bell every single week. This is a guy who doesn't miss time, and so that makes him a player that I think Ben Johnson appreciates, certainly a player that Ryan Poles appreciates, and they're going to have some difficult decisions. And does that affection that they have for DJ remove him from part of the difficult decisions? No, but I didn't get the sense that they were pinning the loss on DJ Moore. Roma Dunze dropped what would have been a touchdown earlier in the game. They had plenty of short yardage failures, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and 2, whatever. A lot of blame to go around on that offense. So to try to hang all this on DJ Moore is silly season.
Yeah, Brad, I'm just curious. What did you hear that you now feel, okay, well that now I know that what they think about this guy or that guy? Was there a lot of reading between the lines on different players that are in your mind, or did you feel any clarity?
I think Ryan Poles confirmed what you figured, right? And you want to be careful making assumptions, but you assumed that Kevin Byard was a player that they held in very high regard, and he confirmed that. The Ozzy Trapilo situation, no real clear timeline, but I believe the term that Ryan used was that the rehab could go deep into next season.
Wow.
And that Yeah, I mean that's so. So you hear that and you're like, okay, well they need to take action at that left tackle position. Poles highlighted he was asked about the safety position and said, hey, all of them are out of contract. Although I wouldn't freak out about that. There's a glut of safeties that are available in free agency every single March, so they'll be able to address that position. And I think they need a combination of experience and youth. If it's bringing back Byard, they need to identify a safety they like, and I think they need to draft a safety that they like. But they did a really nice job between the front office and the coaching staff of the whole draft and development this year, and that, by and large, that's been a difficult match. It's been tough for the Bears to put that puzzle together for a while, and it really came together this past year. Now they're going to, hey, you got a new challenge in front of you. You got to go out and do it again. But if they can do it again and add another productive rookie class, because they got a ton of production from theirs this season, they'll be heading in the right direction. Because right now you look at the roster and the young players that were drafted by the Bears and then received contract extensions from the Bears, that number's too small. Now they've got guys in the pipeline now, you would imagine, join that group. Darnell Wright will be the first one. But it's a big off season in terms of adding to the talent base with young players.
So, Brad, they will always talk about a partnership between the general manager and the head coach and the synergy that needs to exist. And we have seen different versions of that, certainly over the year, that has contributed to some of the dysfunction that, frankly, no longer exists or appears to. But am I reading too much into it when I heard Ben Johnson say, I have a lot of decisions to make about this roster? And reading into that is, we know who the strongest voice is at Haugh Hall, but that definitely, to me, reaffirmed what we already knew.
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson's the guy who has a ton of juice, right? And there's no way that Ryan Poles is going to go out and make some transaction to bring in some player for a guy that Ben doesn't want. Like, that just doesn't make sense at all. And it wouldn't be done if the GM had more juice. But the reality is Ben's got a ton of say in what they're going to be doing, and for it to work, Ben's got to lean on the expertise of the people that Ryan has in place doing the scouting, right? Okay, here's our board. Let's discuss these players. Here's why we have them at this spot on the board. Okay, now let's move them around a little bit. That's what that synergy is all about. But yeah, I think Ben Johnson is the top football guy at Haugh Hall right now. That's not a knock on Ryan Poles at all, but Ben was pretty clearly going to be that guy when you looked at the contract that he got 66 days ago or whatever it's been. And then he sort of reaffirmed that by going out with an 11-6 season, winning the division, and guiding the Bears to their first playoff victory in 15 years.
We know that Eric Bieniemy is being hired as the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. That's one guy off staff. We know that Al Harris is interviewing in Washington with the Packers. We know that he could be leaving. How many coaches do you expect to be turned over? We know the name of one guy on the way, but I'm just curious, do we know who's coaching where or how that's going to work yet?
Yeah, I think it's way too early to really make some guesses on that, because there's just so much staff turnover going on around the league. When you talk about 10 teams are turning over a new head coach, and you still get some of them that are trying to find a head coach, and so then they've got to get their staff together. Like it's mind blowing. Like when you get to the start of next season, how many teams are going to have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator? I'm willing to bet you the numbers just about half the league, if not more, especially on the offensive side where it's quick trigger for some of these guys. So it's premature in that stage, but Ben talked about having a 5-star staff yesterday. He talked about wanting to help guys on his staff advance their career if and when possible, and that's what it's about, right? That's what you want, a young coach to come in and work 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks, whatever the case may be, during the season. You want them to put in an extraordinary amount of time in the off season as a young coach. You gotta, if they do that and they do it well, you gotta reward them then, right? You gotta help them along. Like Ben will tell you, people have helped him along in his career. Like Dennis Allen will probably tell you that people helped shape the path for him when he was younger. So that's a good thing. The Rams it was a absolutely mind-blowing stat they had between Chris Shula and some of the other young coaches that were getting interview requests for head coaching positions and coordinator jobs. They had like 11 interviews for some assistants under McVay in the 48 hours leading up to the game Sunday night at Soldier Field. Like, that's big time interest in your assistant coaches, and maybe the Bears get there at some point.
Brad, I think the strongest endorsement and maybe the clearest language surrounded what they said about Caleb Williams, both Ryan Poles and especially Ben Johnson. And when you see how far Caleb has come from maybe the questions surrounding him a year ago at this time and what Ben Johnson would do to now, I wonder where this all is headed next year. By the time the season starts, are expectations that what is next for Caleb Williams is an MVP caliber season? Is he gotten to that point already? Is that too much too soon? How do you read the progress he has made and the way that they view the quarterback?
Yeah, he's made extraordinary progress just from training camp to early in the season. I mean, go back and look at that Saints game. Like Caleb was bad in that Saints game. Like that, offensively they were not good in that Saints game, and they just kept chipping away at it. They kept building. They kept getting better. I'd be careful throwing around MVP season like that. Like you're setting the bar so high that let's. But Pro Bowl season, yeah, absolutely. I think that's certainly in reach here. 4,000-yard season, yeah. I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to get there. It didn't happen this year, but I would agree with you from the standpoint that they are really excited with the growth and development that he's had this year with his commitment to improving. And then I thought it made a heck of a lot of sense when what was one of the first things Ben said is, like, I told him to get away from football for a while.
Right.
And that it's been an intense run going back to last spring when Ben was able to start working with Caleb through a couple weeks of the postseason that, hey, clear your mind, let your body take a rest, and then they will set out to tackle this thing again. The Bears can start their voluntary off-season program on April 20th.
Do we have a sense yet of what the work is they have to get done? You mentioned the left tackle position. I would imagine that's going to be a priority. whether it's in free agency or whether they draft a player. I get it. Everyone seems to believe they're going to go defense only, and I saw so far anyway all of the mock drafts I've looked at, and we're miles away from digging into that stuff. But everybody's got him with a defensive tackle because of the number of guys available and the fairly minuscule number of ends. It's just interesting to see where people are leaning and where people are trying to get their figure. Have you begun your shopping list in your own mind?
I think it's a little early, but left tackle is going to be in there. Obviously, they've got to bring in some safeties, right, or bring back some guys and bring in some new guys. The pass rush, the defensive line as a whole, you can never have too many corners. Like if Nashawn Wright leaves because he's a free agent, what's next? Like, what do you do there? So that's going to be on the list. And then if they that's the one thing where people start talking about these, who's in jeopardy, who could they cut? Because people love the idea of having more cap space. Well, the second half of that conversation is just important, and that's one that people don't often tackle. Is okay. Well, if you make this move to clear cap space by getting rid of player X, who is player Y that's going to fill his role, right? Like, okay, who's that guy and where does he come from and how are you going to acquire him? So there's a ton of moving parts here. One of the things that is natural, and I'm glad they mentioned it yesterday, is they talked about taking a little bit of a step back from the season to have a clear vision of it when they get into their review. That if you were to dive into that right away, I think it was Ben that said it, there might be too much of an emphasis on just the last 3 weeks, a little bit of a recency bias. So expect them hopefully to get away, to sort of reset, have some clear minds and clear eyes, and then get into some honest to goodness evaluation of the roster, where it's at, and concurrently, like they've already got free agent meetings going on in the building on the scouting side, and preparing for that, and of course the college staff has been doing work to get ready for the All-Star games, the Combine in a while. So they're 2 weeks behind where they've been almost every other year.
They normally are.
Yeah, but that's a very good problem to have at Haugh Hall.
Good stuff,
Great
Brad.
stuff, Brad. Thank you, buddy.
Have a great day, guys.